Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Wednesday class. And this is the last Wednesday class of this year. So, with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhurbhava Swaha Tatsavitra Varenayam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma satgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityurma amritam gamya. Om sehna vavatu sehna bhunaktu saviryam karvavahe, tejasvi navadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahe. Om shanti 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 om. We all know that Hinduism name came later on because that is like a religion, religious name. We are from the land of Sanatan Dharma. And there are many specialties to this Dharma. It is known as the Sanatana because Sanatan means which cannot be destroyed. Nothing in this nature can destroy it. Fire, weapons, water, air. And this Dharma is present in all living and non-living beings. Dharma means the way of life, which is the total of all achars. Achar means the conduct, customs, or the rituals. Achars. See, there's a word achar, then there's a word vyavhar, then there's a vichar. Okay, similar sounding terms. But today we are going to talk about the achars. This Sanatan Dharma has its foundation on scientific spirituality. In the entire ancient Hindu literature, we can see that the science and spirituality are integrated. In the 40th chapter of Yajurveda, known as Ishavasya Upanishad, it's mentioned that scientific knowledge for solving problems in our life and also the use of the spiritual knowledge for attaining immortality through philosophical outlooks. So it's integrated. Before we dig into this achar, word for today's lecture, what we are going to talk about the achars or the behaviors of the codes of conduct taught by us ever since we grew up. Some was taught by our teachers, some by our parents, some by our peers, and some we learned by ourselves also. Let me give you the topics which we're going to be discussing. And I may not be able to cover all of them in today's lecture. So there will be a continuation in the next week. For example, why do we light a lamp? The diya, morning, evening. Why do we have a prayer room in our homes? Why do we do namaste? Why do we prostrate before parents and elders? Why do we wear tilk on our forehead? Why do we not touch papers, books, or even people with our feet? These are all part of the achar, the code of conduct. To touch another with the feet is considered an act of misdemeanor. And why is this so? Why do we apply the holy ash? Why do we offer food to the Lord before eating it? Why do we fast? Why do we do pradakshina? Circumambulate. Why pradakshina is done only in a clockwise manner? Why do we regard trees and plants as sacred? Why do we ring the bell in the temples? Why do we worship the Kalash? Why do we consider the lotus as special? Why do we worship Tulsi? Why do we blow the conch? Why do we say Shanti 3 times? Why do we offer a coconut? Why do we chant Om? And why do we do Arti? These are some of the very basic codes of conduct which we follow. I'm going to give you some reasoning behind it. Remember that each and every achar, there will be a component of spirituality in it. Without spirituality, nothing exists in Sanatan Dharma. Generally, everyone bear a wrong impression that this spirituality is a religion. Spirituality is different than religion. Here, the question of religion does not even exist at all. Why? Because Hindu Dharma, or Sanatan Dharma, I should say, was not created by an individual, prophet, or an incarnation. Spirituality is a part of every Hindu custom in the normal life of a Hindu. So achars are to be followed based on their merits available from the self-experience. You don't have to follow them blindly. Sure, teacher teaches us. Teacher is the one who gives the reasoning behind it too. All these achars are mentioned for the prosperity of the human beings, and it should be the prime focus for practicing achars. Let me go over a shlok from Mahabharata. Acharyat padam adate, padam shishya swamedhya, padam sa brahmacharibhya, padam kal kramena cha. This is from Mahabharata. Importance, or a very important advice is given here in this verse. The meaning of this is that a person can get only 1/4 of the knowledge from Acharya. Acharya means teacher also. And our mother is also our guru, father is our guru too. So 1/4. Another 1/4 of analyzing self. 1/4 by discussing with others. And the last quarter during the process of living by method, addition, deletion, correction, modification of already known achars. So that means in our whole life, we got to live consciously. We got to see what are we doing? Why are we doing? Are we moving towards our ultimate goal by doing something or not? When the achars are followed, we get a benefit, psychological benefit, physiological benefit, long life also. We attain prosperity, wealth, strong family and social bondage. And achars give a fine personality, dharmic outlook, and vision. That's what the Dharma Shastra says. Achararth labhte hi ayu, achararth dhanam akshyam, achararth labhte supraja, achar ahante lakshana. In the olden times, everybody followed the achars. For the reasons I just mentioned, psychological, physiological, family relationships, social benefits, national integration. It is your right, it is your duty to understand scientifically, rationally, and logically the meaning of each and every achar. And we got to follow them in our life systematically. So that's why I have chosen some of the codes of conduct to go over today and in next week also. Let's look at the first one, which I mentioned in the list which I gave you. Why do we light a lamp? The diya. In almost every Indian home, a lamp is lit daily before the altar of the Lord. That means altar is in the house. So we light the lamp. In some houses, it's lit at dawn, in some twice a day, at dawn and dusk. And in a few, it is maintained continuously, which is called Akhand Deep. Or on some occasions, they do the Akhand Deep. All auspicious occasions commence with the lighting of the lamp, which is often maintained right through the occasion. People just keep on pouring the ghee in there or oil in there. Light symbolizes knowledge. An opposite of light, darkness, is ignorance. The Lord is the knowledge principle. Chaitanya. Lord is the source, the enlivener and the illuminator of all knowledge. So light is worshipped as the Lord himself. So knowledge removes ignorance just as light removes darkness. Also, knowledge is a lasting inner wealth by which all outer achievement can be accomplished. So that's why we light the lamp, to bow down to knowledge as the greatest of all forms of wealth. But the question is, why not light a bulb or tube light? These days that is available. In old times, it was a ghee and the oil, but these days we have electricity. Because the tube light will also remove darkness. But let me tell you, there is a deeper significance of lighting the diya. Oil or ghee in the lamp symbolizes our vasanas, or our negative tendencies, and the wick, the ego. When lit by spiritual knowledge, the vasanas get slowly exhausted and the ego also finally perishes. The flame of a lamp always burns upwards. The same way we should acquire such knowledge as to take us towards higher ideals. So that's what we learn from that diya. While lighting the lamp, we pray also. Some people pray it loudly, some people pray it mentally. Deep Jyoti Parbrahma. Deepa Sarva Tamopaha. Deepen Sadhyate Sarvam Sandhyaha Deepo Namastute. The person who's lighting the lamp says, I prostrate to this lamp, whose light is the knowledge principle, the Supreme Lord, which removes the darkness of ignorance and by which all can be achieved in life. So you're thinking about God when you're lighting the lamp. The second question I put for you was, why do we have a prayer room in our homes? Because most of the Indian homes have a prayer room, or at least an altar. And a lamp is lit and the Lord worshipped each day. And other spiritual practices also, like japa, repetition of God's name, meditation, or even reading the scriptures, swadhyaya, prayers, devotional singing, are also done there. Special worship is done on auspicious occasions like birthdays, anniversaries, festivals, etc. Each member of the family, young or old, communes with and worships the divine there. That is a prayer room. We all know the Lord is the entire creation. True owner of our houses where we live in, he owns it. So the prayer room is the master room of the house. We are the earthly occupants of his property. This notion rids us of false pride and possessiveness when we keep that in mind. Because we don't own anything. We just falsely think that we own it with the help of that piece of paper. God is the owner. We are only the custodian. The ideal attitude to take is to regard the Lord as the true owner of our homes and us as caretakers of his home. But if that is difficult, we could at least think of him as a very welcome guest. Just as we would give the best comfort to our guests, so we need to facilitate the Lord's presence in our homes by having a prayer room or altar. At all times, keep it clean, keep it well decorated. That's God's law. Also, God is all pervading. To remind us that he resides in our homes with us, we have prayer rooms. So it's like a reminder to our mind. Without the grace of the Lord, no task can be successfully or easily accomplished. We invoke his grace by communing with him in the prayer room each day and on special occasions. That's why it's very, very important. And each room in our homes is dedicated to a specific function. Like we sleep in our bedrooms, we receive our guests in our living rooms, we cook in our kitchen. The furniture, the decor, and the atmosphere of each room are made conducive to the purpose it serves. So for the purpose of meditation, worship, and prayer, we should have a conducive atmosphere. And that's why we need a prayer room. Sacred thoughts and sounds. Those vibrations pervade the place and influence the minds of those who spend time there. Spiritual thoughts and vibrations accumulated through regular meditation, worship, and chanting done there pervade the prayer room. Even when we are tired or agitated, by just sitting in the prayer room for a while, we feel calm, rejuvenated, and spiritually uplifted. So that's why this God's room is very important in our homes. Why do we do namaste? Is the next question. We greet each other with namaste. Two palms are placed together in front of the chest and the head bows while saying the word namaste. This greeting is for all. People younger than us, of our own age, those older, even strangers to us, is namaste. There are 5 forms of a formal traditional greeting in our scriptures, and namaskaram is one of them. This is understood as prostration, but it actually refers to paying homage, as we do today when we greet each other with the namaste. Namaste could be just a casual or formal greeting, a cultural convention, or an act of worship. But there is much more to it than meets the eye. In Sanskrit, namaha plus te, that becomes namaste. It means I bow to you. My greetings, salutations, or prostrations to you. Namaha can also be literally interpreted as na and ma, not mine. And nothing is mine. So it has a spiritual significance of negating or reducing our ego in the presence of another. The whole sadhana is to purify the ego and negate the ego. The real meaning we got to remember. And when we meet two people are meeting, there should be a meeting of the minds also. When we greet another, we do so with namaste. May my mind, or may our minds meet. So we indicate that with the folding of our hands. May our minds meet. We bow down also. That is a gracious form of extending friendship in love and humility. And there is a spiritual meaning behind this namaste, which is even deeper. The life force, the divinity, the self, or the Lord in me is the same in you. Recognizing this oneness with the meeting of the palms, we salute the head bowed, the divinity in the person we meet. That is why sometimes we close our eyes as we say namaste. Or even when we do the namaskar to God, our eyes close. Because when we close our eyes, we are trying to look within. So the gesture is often accompanied by the words like Ram Ram, or Jai Shri Krishna, or Namo Narayan, or Hari Om, Jai Siya Ram. So there are several ways We just remember God at that time. So indicating the recognition of divinity in all of us. When we know this significance, our greeting does not remain just a superficial gesture or word only, but it definitely paves the way for a deeper communion with another, where the atmosphere is full of love and respect. So next time when you do Namaste, remember all this, the deeper significance. Remind yourself of this. The next question is, why do we prostrate before parents and elders? Parents, elders, teachers, noble souls, we touch their feet. And what happens? The elder in turn blesses us by placing his or her hand over our head. Prostration is done daily when we meet elders, and particularly on important occasions, like the beginning of a new task, birthdays, festivals, etc. In certain traditional circles, prostration is accompanied by abhivadan. So that means you introduce yourself also. You even announce your family or even social status. We all stand on our feet. Touching the feet in prostration is a sign of respect for the age, maturity, nobility, and divinity that our elders personify. It symbolizes our recognition of their selfless love for us and the sacrifices they have done for our welfare. It is a way of humbly acknowledging the greatness of another. This tradition reflects the strong family ties, which has been one of India's enduring strengths. The good wishes, which is called sankalapa, and the blessings. And the term for blessing is ashirvad, of elders are highly valued in India. We prostrate to seek them. Good thoughts create positive vibrations. Good wishes springing from a heart full of love, divinity, and nobility have a tremendous strength. When we prostrate with humility and respect, we invoke the good wishes and blessings of elders, which flow in the form of positive energy. It envelops us. We feel that we are bathing in that energy. This is why the posture assumed, whether it is in the standing position, enables the entire body to receive the energy received. There are different forms of showing respect. Prat-utthana. It's like a rising to welcome a person. Any elderly person enters the room and you are sitting down and you just stand up. That is one way to give respect. These days they say that even to put the phone away or to turn the phone off, you are showing respect to that person. Namaskar is the second one. So paying homage in the form of namaste, which I just talked about earlier. Third is upasangrahan, touching the feet of elders or teachers. Oops, fourth is Sashtanga. Sashtanga is prostrating fully with the feet, knees, stomach, chest, forehead, and arms touching the ground in front of the elder. I'm sure you have seen some people when they go to the temple, they do the Sashtanga pranam. And the fifth one is Pratyabhivad. That means returning the greeting. Somebody says namaste to you, and you say namaste back to that person. Or if somebody touches your feet, you touch it in return also. These rules are prescribed in our scriptures as to who should prostrate to whom. These rules are very clearly given. Wealth, family name, age, moral strength, and spiritual knowledge, in ascending order of importance, qualified a person to receive respect. This is why a king, even though he is a ruler of the land, would prostrate before his guru. We all are familiar with the epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata. They have many highlighting stories of this aspect. Next question I had in the list was, why do we wear tilk on our forehead? Tilk invokes a feeling of sanctity in the wearer and others. When we look at somebody has a tilk, we just think of that. It is recognized as a religious mark. Its form and color vary according to a person's caste, religious sect, or the form of the Lord worshipped. That's why we see different colors of tilak and different shapes of tilak also. In earlier times, the four castes, based upon the varna or color, see, varna means color also. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra applied tilks differently. The Brahman applied a white chandan. Chandan is a sandal paste mark, signifying the purity. Because a Brahman's profession was of a priestly and academic nature. The Kshatriya applied a red kumkum mark, signifying the valor as he belonged to a warrior race. The Vaishya wore a yellow kesar, signifying, or even a turmeric, signifying prosperity, as he was a businessman or trader devoted to creation of wealth. And the Shudra applied a black bhasam, kasturi or charcoal mark, signifying service, as he supported the work of the other three divisions. Also, Vishnu worshippers apply a chandan tilk of the shape of U. Shiv worshippers a tripundra of a bhasam. Tripundra is the three lines on the forehead. Devi worshippers a red dot of kumkum. The tilk cover the spot between the eyebrows, which is the seat of memory and thinking. And the Agya Chakra also, in the language of yogis. The tilk is applied with the prayer, may I remember the Lord. Yeah, that is the place for the God in our body. So when we put it on somebody else or put it on ourselves, we are supposed to remember God. May I remember God. May this pious feeling pervades all my activities. No matter what we do, never forgetting God. May I be righteous in my deeds. I don't want to do anything which is against the dharam. May I follow dharam no matter what I do. So even when we temporarily forget this prayerful attitude, the mark on another reminds us of our resolve. It's a reminder to each other. I'm wearing it. You look at it. You will remember. You are wearing it. I look at it. I remember the goal of life. So the tilk is a blessing of the Lord and a protection against wrong tendencies and forces. The entire body emanates energy in the form of electromagnetic waves. The forehead and the subtle spot between the eyebrows, especially so. That is why worry generates heat and causes a headache. The tilk cools the forehead. It's very scientific. I told you that the science and spirituality, they are integrated. So the tilk cools the forehead, protects us, and prevents energy loss. Sometimes the entire forehead is covered with chandan or bhasam. Using any kind of a color. If your mind can remember this, you are moving into the right direction. The next one, why do we not touch papers, books, and people with the feet? To the Bharatvasis, knowledge is and was sacred and divine. And it must be given respect at all times. These days, we separate the subjects as sacred and secular. But in the ancient India, every subject, academic or spiritual, was considered divine and taught by the Guru in the Gurukul. When Bhagavan Krishna went to his Guru, or Bhagavan Ram did, learned everything, all kinds of vidyas. Not just only sacred, secular too. The custom of not stepping on educational tools is a frequent reminder of the high position accorded to the knowledge in Indian culture. From an early age, this wisdom fosters in us a deep reverence for books and education. This is also the reason why we worship books. Saraswati Puja we do. We even do Ayudh Puja. We dedicate a day to the goddess of learning, Saraswati. In fact, each day before starting our studies, we say, "Oh Goddess Saraswati, the giver of boons and fulfiller of wishes, I prostrate to you before starting my studies. May you always fulfill me." That is the rich culture we have come from. And this is what we need to keep in mind and pass it on to our future generations also. This gives us outer prosperity and the inner peace. Abhyudhya Nishraya Sadharma. That is dharma. We cannot say that we are going to be just peaceful inside and outside anything can happen. No. We are responsible for the peace outside, prosperity outside, bliss and the peace within also. And that's why these achars, these conducts are so important. They keep us on the right path. So I'm going to stop it here today, and next week we'll start with the number 7. Altogether, I give you, let me tell you, 22 questions. So we have finished the first 6, and we'll just continue with number 7. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.